American abortion rights groups are gearing up for a court challenge against regulations in the US state of Arkansas that they say will in part ban a common abortion procedure and require women to notify and get consent from their sexual partners or relatives before getting abortions. This is the state of Missouri is also proposing legislation that would enforce tighter restrictions on abortion providers and allow real estate agents to refuse to either sell or rent them land. So, are state governments and courts feeling that more empowered by having Donald Trump in the White House? Joining me now from Washington, D.C. is Caroline Frederickson, President of the American Constitution Society and author of Under the Bus, How Working Women Are Being Run Over. Caroline, thank you so much for being with us. As I said, we're 6 months...
Thank you for having me.
We're 6 months into the Trump administration. Can you give me a sort of state of the nation when it currently comes to women's rights in America?
Well, it's a sad state, definitely. It's been characterized as an all-out assault on women's health care, but women's rights generally. We've seen any number of actions at the federal level by President Trump and his administration, by the Congress, and by the state legislatures, as you've mentioned. It's sort of attacks on every possible front against women's access to reproductive care, but also access to other types of protections in the workplace.
So exactly how is Trump's administration influencing state governments and courts?
Well, the major influence is that Donald Trump has already appointed one person to the Supreme Court, Neil Gorsuch, who is an extreme right-wing jurist. He's very, very opposed to women's access to reproductive care. And there's there's possibly another vacancy or more that will arise during President Trump's presidency, which means that that he could actually be instrumental in overturning Roe versus Wade and thus overturning the key decision that ensured that women had access to abortion when they needed it.
Caroline, you're talking there about Justice Anthony Kennedy, the conservative jurist who sometimes votes with the court's Liberals, who's been hinting that he's considering stepping down in 2018. This would be ahead of the midterm elections, wouldn't it?
Well, it would, and I'd have to say I think the hints are coming more from people like Ted Cruz than they're coming from Justice Kennedy. It's on the wish list of the far right that Kennedy steps down. I have not heard that from anybody close to the justice or from the justice himself. But I think they do have this ultimate wish. That is why you see the incredible amount of activity at the state level. They are preparing the cases. So they know that these laws that they're passing right now are unconstitutional. But what they are expecting is that by the time they're challenged and brought to the Supreme Court will have changed, and the Supreme Court will reach a different outcome on the question of constitutionality.
Yet President Donald Trump and his administration keep repeating that they will invest in and empower women.
Well, I'm waiting to see it. All I see is the president working with the Republicans in Congress to cut basic health care for women under their health care bill. The effort to overturn Obamacare would get rid of contraceptive coverage for women, would cut Medicaid radically. Medicaid actually pays for half of all births in the United States. It's a basic health insurance program for lower-income Americans. They want to block Planned Parenthood from being a service provider. Planned Parenthood is the main service provider for a very large number of Americans and provides basic services from contraceptive care to breast exams and cancer exams. And so, this is really very fundamental for women, that the basic health care providers that they see every day are going to be cut out of the healthcare system, and basic benefits are going to be cut way back. I mean, if you don't think maternity care is a required benefit under a health insurance plan, really what needs to be provided at all for women?
And then whenever you challenge Donald Trump about women's issues, he will always point to his daughter, Ivanka Trump, who's pushing for paid parental leave, showing that as an example of how his administration is indeed pro-women.
What Ivanka Trump is suggesting, which, by the way, nobody seems to like, nobody on the Republican side has embraced it, and the Democratic criticism is that it's a fraud. It's a Trojan horse that pretends to actually protect women's access to, or establish a new right to some kind of paid parental leave, but in fact offers nothing of the kind.
A presidential term in America is, of course, 4 years, but what will be the long-term impact of this administration's program, or in some cases lack of, when it comes to women?
Well, there's not a lot of opportunity for him to do a huge amount of damage, I don't think. But the administration has a huge power of rulemaking, executive action that doesn't require Congress. And that's where we're seeing a lot of activity already. But most profoundly, in the United States, our judges are lifetime appointments. This is anomalous in the world. But once our judges are confirmed, unless they commit a murder or a terrible felony, or they can be impeached, but otherwise they serve as long as they wish. And so the impact for women's health could be extended decades into the future. President Trump's Supreme Court could be making decisions about women's access to basic health care, like contraception, that's going to affect women who are way younger than me, and perhaps some who have yet to be born. And that is what is truly frightening.
Caroline Frederickson, it's been great speaking to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.